The resurgence of Battlefront 2 has been great to see, but it can't just be a blip on the radar. We, as the community, need to keep pushing and keep making our voices heard if we ever want a new Battlefront game to arrive. There has been a few things of note around Battlefront and even some other games over the past week or two that I wanted to touch on, and so without wasting any time, let's get stuck right into it. Now, the first thing that is worth noting is that the player count for Battlefront 2 has dipped quite a bit over the last few weeks. Now, we obviously broke the concurrent player count record on Steam as a community about 2 to 3 weeks ago now, and obviously that was great to see. It felt like the entire community just sort of came together to all jump on the same weekend, and we absolutely smashed that record, almost doubling it, which is pretty insane for an 8-year-old game. But the thing that is worth noting is that since then it has dipped by about 50%, which is obviously not great. Now, no one expected that number to stay that high for a very long time, so this isn't breaking news or anything like that, but I thought that that was worth mentioning. Now, it is also worth mentioning that even at that 50% drop, it is still at around 9 to 10,000 concurrent players on Steam each and every day, which is pretty much what the old-time record used to be. So it is still doing really well. I don't mean to make that sound doom and gloom, saying, oh, it's dropped 50%. It's still pretty much doing the numbers that used to be the literal peak of the game on Steam. So it's still going really well, but it has definitely seen its peak considering it's dropped essentially 50% since that initial hype started to go around the entire community. Now, the reason I bring all of this up is that if we do want people to continue noticing, whether that's EA or whether that is just literally any studio out there that we hope could make a Battlefront, or even hell, just a Star Wars multiplayer game, then we do need to not let this just be a blip on the radar. There are plenty of games out there that just have big spikes for whatever reason, and then obviously they just fall back to the wayside. But if we want to essentially confirm the future for the Battlefront series, then we really need to not let this just be a blip on the radar. So for any of you guys who are still very keen on getting another Battlefront game, keep playing Battlefront 2, keep talking about it on Twitter and on Reddit and even just with your friends. Keep watching content creators' videos on it and stuff like that. Just keep getting the word out there, because realistically, the longer we can keep these higher player counts going, the better that is going to be for the future of the game. Now, speaking of player counts, something that is initially not going to make much sense, but I will tie it back to Battlefront. When it comes to Fortnite, obviously we know that that just had the Star Wars season, and there were some numbers that came out that essentially confirmed that was the lowest player count that Fortnite had seen during any season in around 2 years now, which was directly correlated to the Star Wars themed season. And so even though I think anyone who has their finger on the pulse of the Star Wars gaming community, we all kind of understand why that is. I think a lot of people stopped playing the Fortnite Star Wars content because Battlefront 2 had a resurgence, so that is probably a part of it too, as well as just anyone who is a big fan of Fortnite. Even if they like Star Wars, for example, the entire game changed. Every single weapon was no longer just a regular gun, they were all Star Wars blasters and stuff like that. And so that was probably part of it too, not just because it's Star Wars, but just because the entire game was different than what people were used to, and it probably just saw them dropping off a little bit. So even though that is not necessarily a bad thing, that it was the lowest player count in 2 years, my concern is that the CEOs and the people who make the decisions at the top of all of these companies out there in the gaming industry, my concern is that they will see the numbers and not care about anything else. That is generally what CEOs of these companies do. They don't actually understand anything about video games, they just see numbers, and I am slightly concerned they're going to see poor numbers and correlate that with the Star Wars season, and they're therefore going to just think, okay, well, Star Wars content equals a drop in player count, so people mustn't want a Star Wars multiplayer game. I know to you guys and to me that is obviously incorrect, and that sounds pretty damn stupid considering what we've seen with Battlefront, but you've got to understand that these CEOs, they are not the sharpest tools in the shed when it comes to actual video games. They're great at doing business, but they have absolutely zero idea what they're doing when it comes to the actual video game industry. And that's mostly why we see it in the state that it currently is. So that sort of ties together with what I'm saying about the Battlefront numbers dropping, is that even though to us we've seen this whole thing as being a really good period for Star Wars gaming and giving us a bit of hope for the future of Battlefront, I am slightly concerned that if the Battlefront numbers drop off on top of those Fortnite player counts, that could be seen as a really bad thing, even though realistically it isn't. Now, just quickly before I go any further, I wanted to bring it up for those who may have missed it, but the Top 5 Plays series for Battlefront 2 is back. We are now 2 or 3 episodes into the season. And for those who missed it, I am actually giving away a lightsaber to the winner of that series. And so if you guys want the chance to win a lightsaber, as well as just be featured here on the channel with your own Top 5 Plays, be sure to submit all of your clips down to the link in the description of not only this video, but all videos moving forward. And let's keep that hype train rolling for the Top 5 Play series and just for Battlefront in general. And obviously, if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button as well. Now, the first half of the video almost sounded a little bit negative in the sense that I'm talking about player counts dropping, but there is a very, very big positive that we got just over a week ago now that honestly I kind of wasn't expecting. We did finally get EA acknowledging the game and acknowledging the resurgence of Battlefront 2. Now, they tweeted this over on the EA Play account, so unfortunately this wasn't the official EA main account. This was just the EA Play one, which for context has 175,000 followers, which is a fair amount, but the main account has 7.4 million. So obviously it would have been great to see this on the main account, but at this point we'll take what we can get. But it is just great to see EA actually acknowledge what's going on. I kind of just thought they would never even acknowledge any of this, but as you can see, they have acknowledged the resurgence, and they even said join the action on EA Play and see why players are rushing to the front lines, trying to get even more people in the door as well. So that is a big positive that we have made enough noise that EA did finally acknowledge the game, albeit it almost came across as a bit of an ad, like, hey, this game's having a resurgence, go and play it and get EA Play at the same time, almost just advertising their own subscription service. So it's not the perfect acknowledgement, that's for sure, but I think it is better than nothing. But even with that being said, I don't necessarily think it matters all that much. Now, the reason I say that is because I still don't think that EA will make the next Battlefront game if we are ever to get another Battlefront game, and I think it is almost certain we will get another one at some point, even if it's in 20 years. I'm pretty sure in my lifetime there will be another Star Wars Battlefront game. Could be 3 years from now, could be 5 years, could be 10 years, who knows? But my opinion on it is that I just don't think EA will do it. I think someone else actually needs to come along and reboot it. Now, I know that sounds kind of crazy that we would get a reboot this soon after the most recent game. That kind of sounds crazy. What is even more crazy is that in 2027, it will be the 10-year anniversary since Battlefront 2 launched, and that is the same amount of time as it was from Battlefront 2005, the original Battlefront 2 game, to the reboot in 2015. So technically speaking, after it's been about 10 years for the Battlefront franchise, it's not that weird for it to actually get a reboot. Not saying I think that's what's going to happen, I'm just saying I actually think there is more of a chance of the franchise being rebooted again for the third time than there is of us getting a Battlefront 3 from EA. I also just think even if we got a Battlefront 3 but it was from a different studio, personally that would feel a bit weird to me. It would feel weird to have 2 DICE games as Battlefront 1 and 2, and then Battlefront 3 is just made by someone completely different. Now, to be fair, the original Battlefront 3 that got cancelled, that's what happened there as well. The first 2 were made by a pandemic, and the third one was being made by, I believe, Free Radical. So it's not impossible, but personally I do just think it will actually get rebooted rather than EA just simply making a Battlefront 3. My opinion on how it should be sort of handled though is that Lucasfilm Games needs to actually take control of the Battlefront IP, seeing as Lucasfilm do actually own it. It isn't an EA owned franchise. It is owned by Star Wars and by Disney and Lucasfilm. And so I think Lucasfilm Games needs to step in and essentially make sure that there is always a Battlefront game. If you think of it this way, EA will always make sure, for example, there is a Battlefield game and a FIFA, or an EAFC as it's called now. Companies like 2K will always make sure there's an NBA 2K or a Borderlands. Microsoft will always make sure there is a Call of Duty and a Halo. Sony will always make sure there's a game like a Spider-Man or a God of War type exclusive that's launching over there. And in my opinion, Lucasfilm should always be making sure there is a Battlefront game. So for me, that is kind of why I think we need to keep pushing and stop this from just being a little blip on the radar. If we keep pushing, if we keep letting them know that we want another Battlefront game, my hope is that Lucasfilm Games will notice that if they haven't already. I'm pretty sure they would have noticed it. And instead of letting someone else pitch it to them, I would hope that Lucasfilm Games actually goes around to a bunch of different studios that they think could make it. And instead of letting them pitch it to Lucasfilm, they should be pitching it to these companies. They should be going to, for example, an Embark Studios and saying, hey, we want to make Battlefront. Do you guys want to do that? What can we do to facilitate that happening. Now, Embark, for example, might just say, we can't do that, we don't have the manpower, or we don't want to take that risk financially. And at that point, Lucasfilm Games would go, okay, fair enough, and they'd move on to the next company that they think could make it. That's how I think this should be handled, rather than letting someone pitch it to Lucasfilm, because I think a lot of people are kind of scared to take on a Star Wars project. So anyway, for me, that is why I think we just need to keep pushing. We need to keep the Battlefront name as relevant as possible if we want to get another one, whether that is Battlefront 3 from EA or whether that is a complete brand new reboot again from another company. And so, like I said, if you guys want another Battlefront, keep on playing Battlefront 2, keep on talking about it, keep on watching videos on it, and hopefully the longer we can make this last, the better that will be in terms of our chances of getting another one in the future. But that is going to do it for another Battlefront video. It is fun to be back, even 3 to 4 weeks in now, still making Battlefront content. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it, and if you are, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are well on our way now to the big 100k, so if you are new here, be sure to hit that sub button. But with that being said, thank you all very much for watching. You guys have a great day, and may the force be with you always.